I'm 45, and here's everything I'm doing to put myself in the position to live to 100, if not longer. Number 1, I'm doing cardio to live longer because endurance performance strongly correlates with longevity. While VO2 max is often cited, most research actually measures peak treadmill speed and incline during fitness tests, not true VO2 max. So it's not just oxygen capacity, but how fast and how hard we can push at the end that matters. With that said, I'm tracking progress through something that's called a Cooper test, or how fast I can run a mile. And I'm also aiming for 150 minutes of a fun type of zone 2 cardio to build my aerobic base. And I'm adding one high intensity session like sprints to improve peak performance, because from a VO2 max and also a heart health perspective, that's really what predicts how long you'll live. Next, I'm going to lift weights to protect my future, not just to look good right now. So resistance training is really the fountain of youth. It improves strength, function, flexibility, and independence as you age. The movements I'm going to be focusing on are going to be the squat, the deadlift, the bench, the lunge, overhead press, pull-up, row, and carry. And I call these movements not necessarily mandatory exercises, because we just want to choose one exercise for each and focus on getting stronger at them. Even as I get older, I'll keep training these patterns because they're not just workouts, they are life insurance. And regardless of how old I am, the goal is always going to be progressively overloading these weights and also using mechanical tension, which is to stress the muscle enough so I can spark growth or even just maintain what I've built. Because muscle just isn't about size, it's about freedom. The more you have, the longer you stay out of a hospital bed and on your own feet. This is the difference between a nursing home and a life of independence. Number 3, I'm just not going to be fat. Because when it comes to living longer and stronger, your body composition is not just about vanity, it's strategy. And what counts as healthy depends on your age and gender that you can see over here. But the big picture is simple. If you are leaner within reason, it usually means a longer lifespan and lower disease risk. Now, the true culprit that you have to focus on here is visceral fat. This is the type of fat that wraps around your organs like a clingy X. It's called the most dangerous fat for good reason, because it's been linked to all types of big killers, things like type 2 diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. And the more of it that you carry, the more you crank up this risk. This means I'm getting a DEXA scan every single year to keep tabs on my body composition. And if that's not an option for you, I would just get a tape measure and wrap it around your waist, because your gut is often the loudest indicator of what's going on underneath the hood. Specifically, I would be tracking my waist to height ratio, and I would want to get it around 0.9 to 0.8. By the way, if you want a free guide on the protocol we use to help our clients reduce their visceral fat by 50% or more, you can grab it for free in the description below. Number 4, I'm gonna get regular blood work done, because what gets measured gets managed. Your blood tells the truth long before your symptoms show up. I'm going to be tracking key markers to stay ahead of potential issues, not just to react to them. So here's what I'm watching. I'm going to be tracking my lipid panel, HDL, LDL, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. I'm going to be tracking my glucose and HbA1c for blood sugar control. I'm going to be tracking my inflammation markers, things like hCRP and uric acid. I'm going to be tracking key nutrients like vitamin D, B12, and magnesium. I'm also going to be tracking my hormonal profile, which are things like your testosterone, your free testosterone, your SHBG, things like estrogen, just to make sure these things are in check and I'm feeling great. Other things that I would track would be your kidney function, your iron levels, and ApoB, which is a sign of cardiovascular risk. Now, this isn't about obsessing, it's about getting data. You can't optimize what you don't track, and blood work gives me the roadmap to adjusting my nutrition, my training, and my lifestyle with precision. Next, I'm going to be doing dynamic stretching daily, because mobility is longevity. This isn't about touching my toes or showing off flexibility, it's about keeping my body functional for decades. Dynamic stretches like the couch stretch or the world's greatest stretch, these improve circulation, they boost muscle performance, and they also increase joint mobility. The most important thing is that they sharpen something that's called proprioception, or body awareness. So you move better, you recover faster, and you also stay pain-free. Think of mobility as daily maintenance for your movement system. We want to lube up the joints, we want to provide a wake-up call for the muscles, and it just becomes a long-term investment in staying agile, not fragile. It also takes 5 to 10 minutes, and from my experience and also the experience of my clients, it ends up compounding over the course of your life. Next, I'm going to be sitting on the ground more often cross-legged and also testing myself with something called the sit and rise test. So sitting cross-legged isn't nostalgic, it's more like functional. It improves your mobility, your flexibility, your core strength, while also increasing your range of motion in your hips, knees, and lower back. It also activates your core to a small degree and keeps you capable of rising from the floor with control. Now, the sit and rise test is a simple yet strong predictor of longevity because it reflects all of these physical qualities in one simple movement, which is your ability to get up off of the ground without any assistance. So we all know the benefits of brushing our teeth, but flossing is a low-key longevity habit. Flossing reduces oral bacteria, preventing gum disease, and it lowers systemic inflammation. This is going to lower your risk of cardiovascular issues, diabetes, and also cognitive decline. Daily flossers have a 30% lower mortality risk, potentially adding years to your life. This one is an important one, which is making sleep a top priority. Sleep is the #1 performance-enhancing drug on the planet, but it's not just about getting the right hours, it's about getting the right quality of sleep as well. Now, if you've been struggling with this, the first thing that I would do is get a sleep tracker like an Oura Ring. And I would use it as a way to see where my sleep is at a baseline and also whether or not the things that I'm doing are actually working. I've tested hundreds of things with my sleep, and there are some counterintuitive things that have worked for me, like mouth taping and glycine. Now, the things that you would want to be looking for are going to be your REM sleep, your deep sleep, and also your latency, which is the time it takes for you to fall asleep. And something that you definitely want to track is going to be your time it takes to get to REM sleep, because that has been shown as an indicator of how much or how good of quality of sleep that you're getting. There are a number of things, from the supplements that you should be taking to the environment that you should be creating, and also the routines that you should be having at night, as well as in the morning. So I have a comprehensive guide on the protocol we use to help our clients improve the quality of their sleep. And you can access it for free in the description below. Moving on. One of the most important things, especially as we age, is how we breathe. So that's why I want to primarily be breathing through my nose. So mouth breathing has been shown to be a net negative for your health, and nasal breathing is a net positive. Nasal breathing filters your air, boosts oxygen uptake, and produces nitric oxide while enhancing lung function and cardiovascular health. By being able to breathe primarily through our nose, it can reduce stress, it can improve sleep quality, and also strengthen your immune system. Now, for someone who's been a chronic mouth breather, I found that one of the best ways to become a nose breather is to tape the mouth. And it might feel a little difficult at first, but something that we have to understand, especially about our nose, is that it's sort of like a muscle. It atrophies or it gets stronger the more that you use it. So by taping our mouth, we're essentially forcing ourselves to breathe through our nose. And if this is still giving you a lot of problems, one of the things that you could do is use one of these things called Breathe Right nasal strips to open up your nasal pathways. Personally, I found the combination of Breathe Right nasal strips and also mouth tape to be a great way to step into nasal breathing. And this doesn't mean that you have to do these things forever. You just do these things for a long period of time until your nose gets strong enough to do the breathing on its own. Next, every single morning, I'm drinking coffee every single day. Coffee consumption is linked with increased longevity. It's been shown to reduce all-cause mortality by up to 27%, and it also lowers your risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancers. And it also tastes delicious. Coffee has 100+ bioactive compounds that offer protective effects beyond caffeine. Now, one of the things I'm going to be doing, especially when I'm drinking coffee, is making sure that I'm not brewing it in a plastic container. I'm going to be brewing it in glass or metal in order to prevent microplastics from going into my body. Now let's talk protein. I'm going to be getting at least 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, bare minimum. Protein is the most important macronutrient for longevity. As we age, we lose muscle, which makes us less functional. Consuming at least 0.8 per gram per pound of body weight is the sweet spot that supports muscle growth, repair, and maintenance, especially as we get older. And I did a video on the step-by-step guide on how to get the right amount of protein. You can check that video out in the description below. Next, as a lifestyle, I'm making sure I'm getting at least 8,000 to 15,000 steps per day. walking is crucial for longevity. Something I've noticed with the people that I've met who have lived to 90 to 100 years old is that they have a habit of walking. And for good reason. Walking has been shown to improve mortality risk. It improves heart health and also increases life expectancy. Even modest increases in daily steps can add years to your life, with the greatest benefits seen in people who are less active. Now, the bare minimum I believe that we should be getting is 8,000 throughout the entire day. And I've found to give myself a range of 8,000 to 15,000 as a way to give myself a range for the bare minimum and also for the most optimal amount, which is going to be 15,000 steps per day. And we're finding that 15,000 steps seems to be the upper limit of where we get all the great benefits from a cardiovascular and also cognitive function perspective. And low-key, one of the best things that you get from walking is the reduction of stress, which we're going to get into a little bit later. Now let's get to supplements. I'm going to be taking these 5 supplements probably for the rest of my life. Creatine boosts strength and brain power by fueling cellular energy. Omega-3s have been shown to reduce inflammation, support joints, and sharpen focus, especially if you're not eating a lot of fatty fish throughout the week. Glycine improves sleep, supports collagen, and also helps with blood sugar regulation. Now, vitamin D3 gets added when I'm not getting enough sun. This is critical for immunity hormones and also for your mood. And magnesium, specifically magnesium glycinate and L-threonate for the brain, helps with recovery, it helps you stay calm, and it's also a net positive for cognitive performance. Now, what you have to understand is that I'm not necessarily supplementing to fix a broken system. I'm optimizing a good one. And also, these aren't silver bullets. They're more like small software upgrades that keep the whole system running smoother and longer. Now, this is what I would consider to be one of the most important aspects of longevity, which is to build a community around me that I actually enjoy spending time with. Strong friendships and deep community ties are not just things that are nice to have. They're longevity cheat codes. Social connection isn't soft stuff, it's literally survival. We have evolved from tribes. Close bonds have been shown to boost physical, mental, and emotional well-being in ways that rival diet and exercise. And the reason why is because genuine connection calms your nervous system. It lowers cortisol, which is that stress hormone that quietly wrecks with your health. We're going to talk about that in a second. And also, it strengthens your immune response. People with strong social networks are 50% more likely to survive across a wide range of health conditions. And that's not a warm and fuzzy stat. That's biology just doing math. Loneliness, on the other hand, is no joke. Research shows that it's as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day or carrying chronic obesity. In other words, isolation kills. So I will invest into my relationships like my life depends on it, because it literally does. Now, up next is something that not a lot of people think about, which is living in an environment that's conducive to your personality. So some people, like myself, feel most alive when they live by water. Others thrive in the stillness of the mountains, the quiet of the forest, or even some people love the constant hum of city life. The point is that your surroundings should energize you, not drain you. Life is just like way too short and way too precious to spend it somewhere that doesn't really reflect who you are at your core. Your environment is not just like this backdrop, it's a co-author of your mood and mindset and even your health. And this is something that I realized because lately I've been traveling around, I've been away from my home, and I was in my hometown of Toronto, and I love my hometown, it's great. But I just don't like city life anymore, and it drains the out of me. But now that I'm here back in the Pacific Northwest, back in my home, I just feel energized every single time because I love being around water and I love being around nature. And that said, there's a caveat to all of this. So as you age, what lights you up may evolve. So the beach that once felt like home might feel like noise. The city that used to excite you might eventually exhaust you. And that's not really regression, it's more growth. So we have to honor the shift, we have to realign, and we have to understand that life changes and we do as well. And so should your zip code. Next, I'm going to be getting at least 90% of my calories from whole, nutrient-dense, single ingredient sources and 10% from whatever the I want. Now look here, dieting is not about being perfect. It's about finding the right ratio for you. So for my 90%, I'm going to be eating steak, chicken, at least 2 servings of fatty fish a week, plenty of veggies, and plenty of single ingredient carbs. We got to realize that macronutrients are going to determine your body composition, but micronutrients are going to determine your mood and energy. This means that nutrient-dense foods are a net positive for your physical and mental well-being. That said, I'm not a robot, so I'm also going to be having fun with my food too. This means I have about 10% of my calories that are allocated to fun sources. Think things like ice cream, pizza, and on the very rare occasion, maybe an alcoholic drink. You have to understand that your diet does not have to be perfect for you to live a long life. In fact, it actually needs to be imperfect for you to sustain it in the long term. Now, this one is a silent killer. I'm going to be avoiding chronic stress like it's the plague. You have to understand that stress just isn't a feeling, it's a biological wrecking ball. When left unmanaged, it can accelerate aging at a cellular level, while also raising your risk of nearly every major disease and shortening your lifespan. This is why managing your stress isn't optional, it's strategic. Whether it's breathwork, walks, lifting, journaling, or just saying no more often, we need to build habits that lower our baseline levels of stress and reset our nervous systems. Because the goal is not to avoid stress entirely, that's impossible. And that's also not what you want. The goal is to recover faster, handle it better, and not let it run the show. A calmer system is a healthy system, and a healthy system is gonna last a hell of a lot longer than a chronically stressed one. Now, the second last one is one that I wish I learned when I was in my 20s, which is to learn how to appreciate your body, not for how it looks, but for what it can do. When I first got in shape, I was fueled by anger and insecurity and just self-loathing. I saw my body as this project to fix and not a gift to care for. While that initial energy got me fired up, it wasn't sustainable. And over time, that fuel ran out. What replaced it was something deeper, which is respect. Now I train from a place of gratitude, because while my body may be flawed, it may be aging, it may be still learning, it's literally the only one I'm ever gonna get. I call it my lifelong meat vehicle. It's my home, my hardware. And just constantly fighting it and insulting it, that's like punching the engine of your car as you're trying to drive cross country. Your body isn't something that you want to punish, it's actually something you want to partner with. If it's letting you move, walk, hug your kids, chase your goals, and wake up without pain, or even wake up with pain, that's not something to be taken for granted. It's always trying to keep you alive, and that's something to celebrate. And self-respect, not self-hate, is what sustains long-term health. The more you show love to your body, the more it'll give it back to you. And finally, I'm not obsessing about any of this, because here's the paradox. The more that you fixate on living longer, the more you stress yourself into an early grave. Longevity to me is a lot like that clingy ex. The more that she tries to chase you, the more that she ends up pushing you away. And I'm not treating any of this like this rigged checklist or some daily report card. These habits are not obligations, they're just integrations. I'm simply building a lifestyle that nudges my odds in my favor. It's no stress, no obsession, just alignment. And here's the thing, if we make it another 10 to 15 years, the pace of medical advancement might give us a shot at living to 100, to 120, and maybe even 150. No one really knows what's coming, but my job is to get to the starting line in the best shape possible. And after that, I'm gonna let the cards fall where they may. So let me leave you with this, because your 40s are not just another decade. They're a turning point. Researchers from Stanford and Nanyang Technological University tracked over 100 people for years, studying what changed at the microscopic level. And what they found was shocking. Most of the biological shifts didn't happen gradually, they came in sudden bursts. The first one hit right around the age of 44. That's when your metabolism starts to shift, your body begins processing fat and alcohol way differently, and your muscle function and recovery start to decline. It's also the point where cracks begin to form unless you reinforce the foundation. Now, the second shift happens around 60. This impacts immune function, blood sugar regulation, and cardiovascular health. But by that point, the groundwork has already been laid. And this is the biggest reason why your 40s are not a decade to coast. They're a decade to commit. It's this window where you can either accelerate decline or build momentum for the next 40 years and beyond. So take care of your health now, not because you're broken, but because you are entering the most biologically pivotal phase of your life. Your choices today determine whether your future is one of slow decay or sustained vitality. And if you made it to the end of this video, great job, super proud of you. If you are interested in living longer, one of the best ways to do this is going to be through exercise. So I did a video on the 5 types of exercises that I'm doing to live to 100. You can check it out right over here. I'll see you on that video.